Hello and welcome, our blog viewers, to RTD's News English Edition. As usual, we begin tonight's news with our highlights. First contact and information visit to the CEPEC. And on the international scene, European Union wants to impose a universal charger for smartphones. Those were the top highlights for tonight. Welcome back to our newsroom, our beloved viewers. The Ministry of Health, Dr. Ahmed Roble, received the Ambassador of Saudi Arabia in the Republic of Djibouti, His Excellency Mr. Abdulaziz bin Abdullah Al Matar. The talks focused on cooperation between the two countries, particularly in the field of health, especially in the period marked by the COVID-19 pandemic. The strengthening of the country's hospital capacities and the mobilization of vaccines for the Ministry of Health. Both had a cordial exchange on the progress of cooperation in this field, addressing many aspects of interest in dealing with ways and means to improve collaboration in the future. The Ministry of Health, Dr. Ahmed Roble, was received by the Ambassador of Saudi Arabia in Djibouti, Mr. Abdulaziz bin Abdullah Al Matar, within his embassy. An important donation of equipment intended for the fight against COVID-19 were received by the Ministry of Health in the Embassy of Saudi Arabia in Djibouti. The event took place in the presence of the Ministry of Health, Dr. Ahmed Roble, and of the Ambassador of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Mr. Abdul Aziz, as well as officials of the Department of Health. Indeed, this reception comes in a period marked by the increase of COVID-19 in the Republic of Djibouti. The Ministry of Health thanked the Saudi government for their strong support for the Djiboutian population. Finally, the Ministry of Health and his Saudi counterpart had a meeting and were pleased with the bond of brotherhood between the two peoples. The Gender Department of the Ministry of Women and Family, in cooperation with the Djiboutian Agency for Community Development and with financial support from the African Development Bank, organized a training workshop on gender and development in the People's Palace. This training course was chaired by the Minister of Women and Family, Mrs. Muna Usman Aden. The Minister's gender coordinators and directors of regional gender office also participated in it. Gender is the set of attributes related to and distinguished between masculinity and femininity. The main objective of this training is to impose the capacity of staff in the gender department to analyze gender-specific gender, especially women. This workshop also allows participants to gain experience on the basic concepts of this topic and specific information for integrating gender in the project management, designing objectives, developing indicators and evaluation criteria for impact measurements. At the conclusion of the event, all participants will have a basic knowledge of gender and development. In a speech on this occasion, the Minister of Women and Family, Mrs. Muna Usman Adan, pointed out the importance of this workshop on gender and development, and she said, gender is the set of attributes related to and distinction between masculinity and femininity. These traits can include a particular biological sex. For example, the human being is automatically male or female, and include sex-dependent social structures, including gender roles and other social roles or gender identity. In most cases, it is seen that women are the gender whose social role needs to be modified. The main objective of this training is to impose the capacity of workers in the judgment development for qualitative analysis. The Minister of Social Affairs and Solidarity, Mrs. Ulufa Ismail Abdu, continues her tour of contact to institutions under her supervision. Still in the framework of her tour of first contact, the Minister of Social Affairs and Solidarity, Mrs. Ulufa, yesterday made a visit of first contact information to the Popular Savings and Credit Bank of Djibouti, which is also known as CEPEC. The CEPEC is a microfinance institution which is part of poverty alleviation policy initiated by the President of the Republic, Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh. It offers financial products and services designed for a public excluded from traditional banking channels. On her arrival, the Minister of Social Affairs and Solidarity and her staff were welcomed by the Minister of the Popular Savings and Credit Bank of Djibouti, Mr. Omar Ibrahim Umar, the Director General of ADDS, Mr. Mahdi Muhammad Jama, the entire staff of CEPEC, and the women beneficiaries. The Minister of Social Affairs and Solidarity first reviewed the different services of the Popular Savings and Credit Bank of Djibouti, where she got information on the different tools put at the disposal and the review initiatives undertaken under the new management headed by Mr. Omar Ibrahim Umar. The Minister of Social Affairs and Solidarity underlined during the informative visit that she made the need to combine efforts to all the staff for the success of the missions developed to the fund and for the alleviation of the hopes and aspirations of the citizens on the whole national territory. Also, during her first contact visit to CEPEC, the Minister of Social Affairs had an information meeting with women beneficiaries of CEPEC credits. During this meeting, the Minister of Social Affairs and the women beneficiaries discussed ways to improve CEPEC's activities to enable vulnerable households to develop income-generating activities and overcome poverty. The women beneficiaries testified to CEPIC's increased efforts to revitalize its financial services in order to respond correctly to the demands of its clients. The women beneficiaries and also heads of CEPIC subscribers grouping centers warmly thank the Administrator of the Popular Savings and Credit Bank of Djibouti, Mr. Umar Ibrahim Umar, and all the staff for their unconditional availability to accompany and advise the needy households. The Secretary General of the National Union of Djiboutian Women, Mrs. Fatuma Musa, the Secretary General of the Ministry of Social Affairs and Solidarity, Ifrah Ahmed, and senior officials of microfinance institutions took part in this meeting. The Administrator of the Popular Savings and Credit Bank of Djibouti, Mr. Umar Ibrahim Umar, welcomed the Minister and her delegation. Also, the Director General of ADDS, Mr. Mahdi Mohamed Jama, and the Secretary General of UNIFD, Mrs. Fatuma Musa, respectively recalled the essential role of the CEPIC in the fight against poverty, an important tool for creating jobs and overcoming precariousness, noted the DG of ADDS. She stressed the commitment of the Djiboutian government under the leadership of the President of the Republic, who spares no effort for the development of the vulnerable population. The Minister of Social Affairs and Solidarity, at the end of the meeting she had with the women heads of centers, she said she was satisfied and encouraged the efforts made to revitalize the activities of the Popular Savings and Credit of Djibouti. Moving on, the Agency of Urban Rehabilitation and Social Housing conducted yesterday morning a ceremony to launch the first work of servicing an area of 35 hectares of the site of rehousing and provision in Balbala South, City Nasib. This ceremony was chaired by the Minister of City, Urban Planning and Housing, Mrs. Amina Abdi, and saw the presence of the Director of the Aurlos, Mr. Abdurrahman Ali Ahmed, and the Director of the company, Jibfu. This is the beginning of the work to make the cleaning of the land, to put the land again, make the wood, bring water, bring electricity, and bring public lending. This initiative will meet the objective of the President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, to reaffirm his desire to give a home to every Djiboutian family. The site of the development work will be used to rehouse families who will be moved from the zero slum areas. The Minister of the City, Urbanism and Housing, Madam Amina Abdi, reacted after the launch of the first works of development of an area of 35 hectares of the site of rehousing and provision in Balbala South, City Nasib. Moving on, an important signing ceremony by video conference relating to the shareholding and partnership agreement in the management of the redevelopment project of the Old Port of Djibouti took place this morning at the Ports and Free Zones Authority. As a reminder, the investment agreement was signed on December 29, 2022, and these two new agreements complete the battery of legal documents paving the way for the construction and operationalization of Red Sea World, the company that owns the project in Red Sea Global. The company in charge of managing the project. The ceremony was attended by the Chairman of the Ports and Free Zones Authority, Mr. Abubakar Umar Hadi, Representative of Great Hor Investment Holding, the other partners including Representative of China Merchant Port, Representative of China Merchant, both subsidiaries of China Merchants Group. The ceremony was also attended by Mr. Mohammed Abdullah, Financial Director, and Mr. Mohammed Aden Waberi, Advisor to the President of the Authority of Ports and Free Zones. Moving on, the Commander of the Djiboutian Coast Guard, Colonel Wa'es Omar Baghore, and the Director General of the PLT Hospital, Mr. Zakaria Awled Ahmed, have co-chaired a closing ceremony of a training intended to obtain a certificate, making the end of a long series of theoretical and practical courses provided for the benefit of the first class of permits of the Djiboutian Coast Guard. The officers of the Djiboutian Coast Guard have benefited from these trainings in two stages. On the one hand, theoretical sessions which took place at the Naval Training Center of Durali Camp, and which had for concept to acquire the virtual base of knowledge, followed by practical medical sessions of nurse, medical assistants, and X-rays, technicians, and laboratory technicians that they have carried out within the General Hospital PLT, allowing them to strengthen the practical knowledge in the field of medicine. Moving on, the National Weather Service organized yesterday a workshop to discuss the seasonal forecast for the next quarter. The workshop was chaired by the Director of Weather, Mr. Mohammed Ismail, in the presence of the main officials of the weather. In this context, normal rainfall is expected throughout the country. Higher than usual temperatures are expected according to the forecasts. The first rains will start from October 10. For the sake of their family, we are looking for the person named Fardousa Hussein Gedi, about 35 years old, daughter of Hussein Gedi and Khadija Hersi Bahdon, living in Dakhil. The person shows signs of insanity and was last seen in July 2021. She is likely to travel to Djibouti in case of discovery. Notify as soon as possible the following number: Police Chal من دخل 27 42 01 62 or family phone 77 83 04 39 or 77 87 63 08. Moving on towards the international scene, soon the end of incompatible chargers clogging doors. The European Commission proposed on Thursday, 23 September, a regulation to impose a universal charger for cell phone and other electronic devices in the name of consumer rights in the environment, a project that is opposed by the American giant Apple. The regulation aims to harmonize charging ports for smartphones, tablets, cameras, headphones, speakers, and portable games consoles, and constrain the connection cables for the California's group's iPhone. The draft still needs to be approved by MEPs and European Union's member states. By this, our beloved viewers, we conclude this edition. Thank you for being with us, and make sure to tune in later for more. Have a lovely night. Thank you.